Today in our session in this live, we have another special guest, nonetheless, Agustina Bessa. Agustina, am I pronouncing it right?
Yes, that's right.
Perfect. A lifestyle and performance coach with a background in biochemistry, a PhD in quality of life and well-being. But I'll give the floor to you, Agustina, to do the introductions. And thank you so much for being here today in our podcast. Agustina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Yona. Hello, everyone. And thank you very much for having me in your podcast. I'm really pleased with this opportunity. So yeah, I'm Agustina. I'm a high performance lifestyle coach. I basically work with people to align their lifestyle with their goals and their ambitions. And that starts with aligning their values, understanding what really resonates with them, what is important for them. And you would be surprised, but often we have things that are really important for us and we forget about them with the routine and with the speed of life. And then the second is really building the energy that people need to achieve their goals and their most ambition plans for the short and long term. So that's kind of overall what I do. And as you mentioned, I am a biochemist. So by background, I studied biochemistry, did my bachelor and master back in Portugal. I'm Portuguese originally. And then I moved to London already 10 years ago now, where I decided to do my PhD at King's College in quality of life and well-being for cancer patients. So that taught me a lot about what are the different things from the different aspects of well-being that are really important for us as humans, as people, and especially in a group that is so challenging. And so after that, I've also did a lifestyle medicine accreditation because I really wanted to build on that knowledge. What is the evidence out there that we can trust, that has been scientifically looked at, that we can bring to our lifestyle, and then build our energy level and our health from that perspective. And along that, I've been obviously as well working actually within a pharmaceutical organization where I lead the digital health innovation within the UK affiliate. And that's something I'm really excited about because I bring a lot of that knowledge into my coaching practice with health tech, with the wearables, and how do we interpret that data? How do we use it to actually create the lifestyle changes that are relevant for us and that can help us in our day-to-day.
So something I caught up on your introduction is about lifestyle and performance. Does that link a little bit? So this is out of curiosity. Does this link a little bit with our social life? I'm not mentioning friends or family, so I'm not limiting that to friends and family, but does that link together with a broader spectrum of social life?
Yeah, so I can actually give you the full picture. When I moved to London long ago now, I was working full time I decided to do my PhD. And so those two things were really important for me, right? I was like, well, I want to grow in my career. I want to evolve in terms of what I do in my professional life. And so I knew this was important. But more than just growing and functioning around my career goals, I really wanted to continue to grow in all different aspects of life where I wanted to be or align with who I wanted to become. So social life was really important for me as well. And finding a husband, which I have now, was also really important. So going out and socializing, dating, those aspects were really, really critical. So I had made the commitment to myself when I started my PhD. I remember very well. I sat down and thought, okay, I'm going to do this PhD on top of my full-time job. But one thing I will never say no is to any social invitation, social events where I think, good friends, good colleagues, people, that I like, that I enjoy being, that I feel like I can grow with, we can have some connections, strong connections. I don't want to say no because I have to study, no because I have to work. So I really want to, I just committed that I was going to say yes to everything. So I did that. I was really socializing as much as possible. And I actually built a lifestyle around the goals I had. And that meant I wanted to do boxing. I did boxing. I wanted to running. I was running every Saturday morning. I was going to the gym very much. I love dancing, so I wanted to dance, and I learned salsa. It was Sunday evenings, and I was doing all of that on top of doing my, work and studying and everything. And people were asking, how are you doing all of that and you're not burning out? And at that time, I remember thinking that there was a lot around my mindset, my ability to plan strategically, to be very organized. And only when I was working with people through LinkedIn, actually, a lot, helping them with their mindset, but also their career profiles and their CVs, then I realized that there were few people who had the mindset, who had the ambition, the really great ambitious goals, but they lacked on something I didn't think about before. They lacked on energy, because we were always think about energy or motivation, ambition as something kind of very around your mindset and very motivational sense. But that made me realize that actually what people had in terms of the ambitions and those who could actually continuously work towards these goals and make them happen had the energy to make it happen. And that comes from the different lifestyle pillars. One of them, and that's when I realized actually in my experience, social connections were, to answer your questions, social connections were a big part of it, because I was feeling energized with all the things in the lifestyle I had built. And actually just going for dinner with some friends and sometimes coming back at 10 p.m. and still doing a bit, a couple of hours of work was working for me. And the fact is, those conversations, this connection with people I love, actually made me more energized than if I had just stayed at home and worked all evening. And so I think that was an interesting learning for me. But more recently, I think it's a 2024 study, looked at how actually social connections and loneliness in particular have an impact in your inflammation levels. And so that's really, really interesting, because what that study did, more than just that kind of overall picture, is that they looked at the impact on your mitochondrial function. And so for those who don't really know, mitochondria are little powerhouses of your cells, like little organelles that produce energy in your cells. And so I'm passionate, as a biochemist, I'm passionate about mitochondria. I think in the past few years, we've been researching a lot around mitochondria as well. And so it was really interesting to see how loneliness or the lack of social connections have an impact on your inflammation levels and consequently on how much energy you can produce. So I found it really fascinating on how your energy comes from the lifestyle that you adopt. And that's, for me, something that has to be really conscious and personalized to each person.
Amazing. If you want, Agustina, later when we finish the live, you can pop the link of the research
Yeah.
for the viewers, for your audience, our audience actually, if they want to check out the research. And obviously, if they have any questions, they can direct to you. No, not around the research, obviously, but anything related with your work, which links to that research, obviously. Well, thank you very much for clarifying how the social life impacts our energy, impacts our focus, and the lifestyle in general. So if we always think that lifestyle is something that we choose for fun, or we want it or we don't want it. Sometimes we neglect it because we have other priorities. But I also want to understand how the willpower, because you touched on the topic of we want to do something, but then we don't have the energy, we are tired. So how this alone, the willpower. So I want to do something, but I can't be bothered today. I'm gonna think and I'm gonna start it tomorrow
Yeah.
or in time or whatsoever. Why this alone is not enough?
So I always say, that's a really good question, because I always say that actually your energy is not, your ambition actually is not just willpower. It's essentially, it's biology. And so for me, it's the key line that drives everything, because willpower is, and mindset is definitively part of it. But think about that. If you have very high ambitious goals, You imagine, let's give an example. So imagine that you have a phase in your life, let's say a month, you have been in holidays, you have a very relaxing month, and you sleep well, you've been eating relatively healthy, more than normal, you do some exercise every other day, you meet with your friends or your family, people you know with who you'd like to be and spend time with. To really have, like, when I mean lifestyle, I mean a healthy lifestyle, right? So you really have a healthy lifestyle those days. So you feel rested and you feel a lot more energized than if you are in the rush of the tube, going to work very fast, come back home, cook, have dinner, do some extra work, and I want to go for some drinks, so I come back actually a bit later and I drank a glass of wine too much, and so my sleep is actually not really good. So those are really two different lifestyles and perspectives. So think about the first one and how you wake up far more energized. And suddenly, because you're an ambitious person, you have these goals. You think about, actually, I really want to become this person, or in 5 years, 10 years down the line, I want to achieve this role or this project I want to be working on. So that's kind of what you're looking at. What happens is that actually, because you feel energized, you can think about highly ambitious goals, and you can also think about the long term of these goals, because often actually highly ambitious goals, they don't have you can't have them in the short term, right? There are things you have to plan in the longer run. So, and that's great. So if you continue to have this healthy lifestyle and build on the aspects that actually build energy in you, then you will be able to think strategically, to navigate your nervous system in a way or to control your nervous system in a way that actually you are able to control your emotions, to not overreact, to make really the decisions in a way that are strategic for you and for your goals. You are able to physically and mentally feel more energized and work towards those things. So that's where your real energy comes from. But then think about when you then start going back to the rhythm of rush, 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 forget the good sleep, get a sandwich and some crisps and maybe a coffee at lunchtime, forget a healthy dinner. Actually, I don't have time to go and, see my family as often as I needed. What happened to your restfulness and energy levels? Actually, the energy levels you have might be heavily compromised. And when you don't have energy, it's very unlikely you're able to think about the long-term vision. You will focus on making happen what you need to happen today or this week or even this month. But so you will also very unlikely think about very high ambitious goals, because it almost feels hard to think you would be able to achieve that such a big goal, but just because you don't have the energy, right? And so actually your lifestyle starts to compromise your energy levels, and therefore starts to compromise your ambition and your goals. And that's why I say that actually your ambition is not just your willpower and your mindset. It comes down to the energy that you have. And so very interestingly, when I actually started coaching around, career and CV profiles, that's when I realized, as I was saying previously, that there was something more than just what we usually speak about, on ambition and motivation. There was this energy part that was really, really key. And, because I'm a biochemist, I start thinking, but where does the energy and that ambition really comes from? And what is powering that ambition? And so that's when I first thought about, okay, from my own experience, where does that come from? And then I start looking up and looking at research. Okay, where would that come from? And how can I make sure that that is true as well? And so looking online, on research publications, then I start kind of building together, and it makes sense because we've done a lot of research around mitochondria and the power, this powerhouse of our cells. And when you look at mitochondria, these little organelles are extremely sensitive. And so that means that, for example, they use your sleep to regenerate themselves, and they have a huge ability actually to kind of regenerate overnight. And so when you're not sleeping well, we speak about sleeping a lot, for your brain, your cognitive performance, to, settle memory and all these things. But we often forget to mention actually how sleep has a huge impact on how mitochondria can regenerate themselves. And so that's really, really important, because you want to have mitochondria that are at top health so they can function and perform at the maximum level. And so that's one aspect of lifestyle that really impact mitochondria. But then we have other things, such, for example, nutrition, right? We speak a lot about nutrition. We speak about the different reasons for gut health, brain health, and so on. But nutrition is really important to bring the nutrients for optimal mitochondrial function and efficiency. And what we know actually is that there are some nutrients that are very important for a process that is called oxidative phosphorylation, which is a process that mitochondria uses to transform the nutrients you've given them to ATP, which is that energy, that fuel. And so if you like on, for example, NAD+, coenzyme Q10, and other things that are critical, actually, you will not have a mitochondria that produce enough energy as, if you were actually fueling yourselves for your mitochondrial health. So that's another thing. But if you even think about physical activity, which is another one, we always look at physical activity from different perspectives. I love looking at physical activity on how much energy from a mindset perspective it also gives me. I love, it's a bit running for me. It's a bit of a meditation kind of moment. So I really liked it. But what we know as well around physical activity is that it helps your mitochondrial biogenesis. And that is a process of creating more mitochondria. So actually what we have is not only mitochondria that are highly efficient at producing energy, but you are actually helping to have more mitochondria at producing more energy. So it's really a huge increase in terms of energy levels that you'll have by adopting different habits within your lifestyle that can support your mitochondrial health and consequently your energy levels. And that's why I say, actually, your ambition, your goals, they're just not only willpower. It's about what you do in your lifestyle that enables you to have the energy you need to achieve this.
Thank you very much, Agustina. Just a little disclaimer here. This podcast is not about health advice. We don't talk about health advice as such, so this is not the main focus. However, the guests have the opportunity to talk based on their research and based on their knowledge. Again, do your own research, check out the data. That's what I wanted to say. This is not an official advice that we are giving to the audience to follow these steps or take, supplements or what kind of food they will need to eat in their daily routine. This is all linked with the overall well-being approach to the well-being of our audience and the guests that are talking about it. So thank you for that, everyone, and Agustina for sharing with us. So next question, really. So you have the background in biochemistry. You are talking so much about data and nutritional aspects, the overall well-being of individuals. How the science? So how can we translate the science into everyday strategies? So you have touched a little bit. You have talked in part on that aspect, but I want to understand how women can align their health with their goals. We feel burnout every now and then as business owners. We neglect the social life as we mentioned earlier in this live. So how can we align our health goals without falling into burnout?
So first of all, thank you for clarifying, because indeed I think it's actually a big part of what I do in my coaching practice. Everything has to be personalized. So in any case, this is just overall recommendations and what we know out there, but it's not saying to people you have to buy any supplements or adopt any of these to the letter. And I love that question, because actually we know that there are overall recommendations, and we know that there are hype trends out there, especially with the big boom around wellness at the moment about biohacking. So you have everyone doing so much for their health. And although I love it, I love the fact that people are becoming more aware, more conscious of their well-being and taking more ownership of their own well-being. What I think it's challenging is really understand what works for each person. And so often you have people trying things, and I have that very often in the practice, is people who come and say, well, I'm doing this, 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 and this. So I wake up at 5 a.m, I'm doing the journaling, I'm actually having water and lemon first before anything else, and all these little habits and hacks that they want to put together. And so I always say, let's forget about it all. Let's start with a white blank page, because it's not about adopting every trend that is out there. It's not about listening to what's out there in a society. We are telling you that this works. It's first about doing a work around your values and who you are and what really resonates with you. And I'll tell you one thing, it's actually harder than we think, because often we need someone who challenge our beliefs, because we think we really want something just because we grew up with it. We grew up with that idea that this is the right thing. And often when we deeply think and challenge our thoughts, we realize actually there are things that I like more, or there are things that I value more and that are more important to me. So it's really important to look at first, what are my values? Does really resonate with me? That's really number one. And then once you have that, it's okay. So how are we going to align your lifestyle to make sure that is personalized to you and that works for you in practice? And so, I mean, for sure, you have to start with a full, I would say, blood work, looking at actually how healthy you are at the moment. And I know not everyone will have that routine, but it's really important to go and see your GP, go see your clinical practitioner. Just make sure that you have a good understanding of your foundation, of your health first. And then I think it's really like, let's start building. You can adopt some of the general recommendations, but we are in a phase where actually with the health tech and all the wearables we have available, you can actually take that to an extra level. And that's a work I really enjoy doing in practice, because we look at actually what is your wearable telling you, right? How is your sleep? What is influencing your sleep? But then you take it to another level, which is, okay, we have the HRV, you have VO2 max. How does it correlate with your glucose spikes, with the food that you are eating? And so I find it really interesting. And I have to say, it can be quite overwhelming, because often we don't really know how to read, the data, and we just read it like it comes. But it's more than just reading it. It's about interpreting it within the context. And that's where in the coaching practice it's really insightful to put that all together and see, actually, this maybe practice, these health habits that you're adopting might not change much, or this, less good thing that you are doing actually doesn't have such an impact in your health and in how you feel rested. So it's okay. You can continue to do it if you feel that it really brings you a lot of joy. For example, once a week you sleep a bit later. I know, but they say even weekend you should sleep at the same time. Well, but actually your social connection is also as important, and look into your pattern, it doesn't change much. So it's looking about, maybe that cheeseburger didn't make you spike as you thought, because you compensated having a very high protein along that burger. So it's kind of, how do you create really this foundation based on what's personalized to you? And that's really critical. And, I can't give you an answer on how it will be for everyone, because it's very personalized, but it starts with looking at your own health overall, making sure that the foundation is there, looking at your values, what's really important for you. Because we also know that people, and actually that's a study, probably 2022, 2023, that looked at people who align their lifestyle with their values. And I found it really interesting. And it's been driving the thoughts I have around this, because the study shows that people who align their lifestyle with their values not only set themselves higher and more ambitious goals, but they are also more likely to achieve them while feeling well and rested. And so that's really interesting how those things are connected, and we don't think about that in kind of our daily life.
Amazing, Agustina. I'd like to see the research. If you could share the link at some point in the thread, so in the chat, so viewers and myself also can have a look and see how it goes, because it is pretty interesting how this is correlated, how everything links together. So at the end of everything, it's you can do good business, but it comes with your lifestyle. If your lifestyle is a good lifestyle, it's an overall well-being. Obviously, you will have more focus and more productivity, and you will perform better. Boiling it down to the research and everything else. Agustina, you have the space now. Thank you so much for being on the live talk, but you also have the space now to promote if you are doing anything. If you're running a workshop or you're running a webinar, you're more than welcome to tell the viewers what is it about.
Yeah, so thanks so much for the opportunity. So if you go into my Instagram profile or my website, you'll find their bioenergy profile. So that's a short 15 questions that will help you to understand your bioenergy level. So we're looking at your energy production, looking at your metabolism, for example. We look at how you regulate your energy from your nervous system perspective, your social connections, and your energy output. So where do you put your energy? Is it aligned with your values or not? And so we put that all together and then look at where your bioenergy levels are. And then if you feel that you do want to work a bit more on increasing your energy levels, you feel that actually I'm more often than I should be tired, fatigued to work towards my goals, then one thing I offer it's on my Instagram page as well. If you want to go or just send me a quick message, it's a bioenergy reset. So we know also very much the importance on your gut health, on the impact of your mitochondria. So basically it's a 21 days program where you look at resetting your gut health in a way that you can improve your mitochondrial health. And part of it, you have a lifestyle and ambition wheel, so you can align that with your goals as well. And that's a kind of a resource that you can use to do it on your own. And of course, if you would like a more personalized support, so you can reach out and we can have a one-to-one, very short discovery call, so we can see how I could help you, starting with your values, your goals, ambition, where do you want to go, what struggles do you have, and try to kind of deconstruct these to put a plan on improving your energy levels and then hopefully achieving your goals.
Amazing. I'm sure you will share your profile link in the chat, and the audience can take it from there. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you everybody for watching the live, and whoever is going to watch the replay, I'm sure you will do. Tune in next week at 12 p.m. UK time for another episode with another stellar speaker. Thank you, everybody. Speak soon.
Thank you.